Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of A Coffee with Chris, the social media show that helps you create impact. As always, brought to you in association with our charity partners, Big C, who help local people affected by cancer, and Blue Bear Coffee. These guys are the coffee for your business, so they can in turn help children that have experienced human trafficking. Today, I'm sipping on their Christmas coffee. Christmas coffee, that's right. With all sorts of notes of amaretto, mulled spices, and clementine. Why not give it a try? Pop into their store on Toonland or buy it online. Of course, as always, this podcast is sponsored by some brilliant people. Oliver Hill from Hill Coaching Company, Limitless Film and Media, Mindset HR, and Wingfield Consultants. Now, today's guest is one of the sponsors. How about that for a plot twist? He's been on once before and he's back for round two. It's the co-founder of Limitless Film and Media, Callum Howard. Limitless Film and Media, for those of you that don't know, specialize in providing high quality, bespoke video solutions for brand-focused social media and, today's talking point, TV advertising. Callum, let's kick off with the why. Why should a brand, why should a business get themselves on TV advertising through brilliant video?
Well, firstly, Chris, thank you so much for having me back. I enjoyed myself so much the last time. I just had to come back on when the opportunity arose. Why TV? I mean, firstly, it's always so interesting when I talk to people out and about when actually they realize how accessible TV can actually be. I think when people hear TV, they think of the John Lewis Christmas advert, or they think of some big budget, very inaccessible campaign, whereas the methodology that we work with, where technology is at now, is that all of the TV advertising can be targeted, very much like you can have targeted advertising in sort of pay-per-click and promoted content on social media. A lot of the platforms, the one in particular we use is a service called AdSmart from Sky. Sky have a very good idea of who their customers are. So they can target a particular ad to a particular audience. So, for example, me and my next door neighbor could be watching Never Mind the Buzzcocks, for example, same time, same channel, and we would see completely different advertising. It's really quite clever how it works. I actually experienced it at the weekend. Why I was watching the F1, and when it came to the ads, I saw an ad for a Norwich-based furniture company that not everyone that was watching the F1 at that time would have seen. So that's sort of the how in terms of how the technology works. The why is really clear, and it's impact, and you talk about it all the time with your work. And what we're finding is that businesses are doing such a fantastic job building a good long-term foundation on social media or in other platforms such as, email marketing. TV can be a great way to just stand up above the noise. We have a little bit of a motto at Limitless, which is stand out and stay remembered. And the first part of that is doing something different. And instead of sometimes getting lost in the noise of social media a little bit, actually getting out there in front of your audience and knowing exactly that your message is being seen by the right people, often at a time where they aren't just flicking through content, they are actually sat and engaged with a piece of media on the TV. The final part for me is the authority that comes with it. So there's a lot of research and surveying being done recently where people have rated how much trust they place in different platforms. And the middle of the road is normally your newspapers and print media. Further down the bottom is your sort of online content and social. And right up the top consistently is TV and radio. Because the consumer still has that perception that it's quite luxurious and inaccessible to get on TV, to appear on TV carries the same connotations and the same weight. So actually you can do yourself a huge number of favors and really cut a lot of corners in your brand awareness by choosing to go on the box.
That makes so much sense, Callum. I want to combat this whole thing of it not being attainable, right? And I think you're right. I think there is a stigma with TV advertising where many businesses are still quite scared of almost taking the leap into TV ads. So I'd really be quite interested to get from you, like what the starting steps, if you like, how to go about it. And perhaps if you were to use even my business, 𝗖𝗵 Media, for example, if I wanted to get in front of, you know, Norfolk, East Anglia businesses, for example, from, you know, booking a shoot with you guys to it being on the box in front of my target audience, give us a whistle-stop tour of that process, please.
It's incredibly straightforward, to be honest. And because we've been doing this for a lot of years now, we've really refined and honed in our process. I always write in our proposals that we hold everyone's hand throughout the whole process, and we even make the cups of tea sometimes. You know, we're really hands-on with our clients so that they don't have to be overwhelmed by it all. I loved the example of using yourself, because I think it's a really good example of actually how it's beginning to become really impactful for B2B customers as well. So 𝗖𝗵 in particular have now partnered with Companies House, so they have access to that kind of data, so they know which of their customers are significant decision makers in companies. So if you are doing a B2B campaign, it doesn't just work for B2C or D2C, it can work for B2B audiences as well. So the first thing that we always do with any of our clients, whether they're going on TV, whether they're doing social media, is we sit down with them, and this is what I think really makes us different, is that first thing we do is get a really good picture of the client, where they are and where they want to go. Because actually there's a couple of times that people have come to us and they have said, I want a video for X. And it's actually through that audit process, we've realized that maybe actually they'd be better suited with Y. So we sit down with them and really build a really good picture of who they are as a company, what their values are, where their business strategy and trajectory is going over the next 12, 18, 24 months. And then we will then start building a profile of who it is that we want to talk to. We then take that data to 𝗖𝗵 and we organize the airtime booking. So we take into account not just the standard demographics of age and location, but we also take into account things like purchasing power, affluence level, beliefs, and psychographics are always quite interesting. We start to really build up that picture. That also then acts twofold, as it then helps us understand what it is that we need to say to those people to actually make that campaign effective. So we will then start drafting creative ideas of what that ad is going to look like. So concurrently, we are booking the airtime and deciding who's going to see it, and then we're also developing what's going to be seen. And then once we have an idea on a script, that script then has to be approved by an industry body, compliance body, that basically makes sure that we're not misleading anyone. We're not saying anything that we shouldn't do, particularly for regulated industries like finance and healthcare. There are lots of fencing around what we can and can't say. So we work with them. And again, we're taking ownership of all of that. We handle all of that. We act as a conduit between the client and the regulator to make sure that the client hasn't got to worry about it. And we often spend a lot of time with we've worked with the regulator a lot now to know what they are going to ask. So we can ask those questions first before they even ask them, so we can answer them on the client's behalf. One particular case I was really quite proud of is we put a TV campaign out for a branch of car dealership in Norwich. And we did a TV ad campaign for the last of the Fiat 500s with a PCP finance option. And we then had a meeting with Fiat, who said that they were actually blown away that we did it, because even the car manufacturers themselves don't go down that level of marketing finance because it's such a minefield. But we were able to interpret the compliance and interpret the creative to make sure that they were really married together. once all that boring stuff's over, we can then actually get in with the stuff that we enjoy, which is the filming, and we make it look beautiful, like I've done today. My head of operations, technical director and co-founder, Rob, has done a brilliant job lighting this for me, as he always does. And we bring in our team and deploy that advert, whether that advert is something more narrative driven, maybe it's got a script to it. We've done a lot of those recently. Or it could be shots of, if you're, for example, we've just done a campaign for a high street will writers who've got branches all across Norfolk. And that was inviting customers into their office and showing the process of them being met in the office, being met at home, and what that process looks like. And then we edit it all together. We do a final round of compliance, and then we deliver it to Sky, and then you get to enjoy your campaign.
How long does that take, Callum, typically? What's like the average time? I know it's a how long's a piece of string type question, but...
Typically, we would say to allow 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
Is normally the nice, comfortable, but it really depends. I mean, we've just turned a Christmas campaign around in 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
That was tight. A charity came to us and said, we've got some airtime booked. Sometimes companies and charities already book their airtime, and then they come to us and say, we've got the airtime booked. We now need some creative to go with it. And they needed, obviously, it had to be out in time for Christmas. So the deadline was the 24th of November to get it on air for the 1st of December. They came to us the last week of October. So I wrote the scripts, got it cleared with the compliance regulator, casted it, found a location, filmed it, edited it, and got it delivered with about 7 days to spare. So we actually did it in 3 weeks.
Amazing efficiency. Callum, I want to kind of bring this to life more. You've already shared some examples there, which is fantastic. But I'd love to learn more about some kind of real life, real world, Limitless Film and Media examples where you've taken that client from A to B. They've started off with, we didn't have a clue about TV advertising, to all of a sudden they're on the box, and critically they've made impact through your exceptional video skills as well. Could you share a couple of examples for us?
Of course, yeah. So the two that always spring to mind are sort of my flagships. The first one was a brand new business. And they just started up, and they thought the biggest and best way that they could really make a splash and build their brand awareness in the cash for gold space was through a TV campaign. And so we wrote quite a fun script about two chaps on a golf course, one of them very jealous of the other one's new set of golf clubs that he explained he'd been able to buy by selling his old golden jewelry. This was a brand new company, brand new website, no SEO done to it yet. And purely through the TV alone, they were getting 3 to 4 inquiries a day.
Wow.
With people sending them pictures of their old golden jewelry from nothing. So I always think that one's really impactful. And actually, I had somebody message me the other day to say that they had seen that ad played at halftime for the Tottenham game on Sky Sports, which was very cool. I've also had one of my ads played at halftime for the Norwich-Burnley game last season as well, which was very cool. It was when we weren't doing so well, and I sat through that game and endured it just to watch our ad at halftime, and then I turned it off. The other one that I think that really warms my heart is we were approached by a charity called Prostate Cancer Support. I love working with them. They are a charity run by men living with prostate cancer, for men living with prostate cancer. And they basically have two functions. One is to raise awareness of the disease and get people tested. The other is to provide support, help, advice, and guidance to men with a recent diagnosis through the function of a 24/7 helpline manned by men living with prostate cancer. We did a TV ad campaign for them to raise awareness of their helpline and to encourage men to get tested. And we 10x'd the number of calls to their support line within a week, to the point where they then had to do a massive volunteering push to get more people to man the phone lines. And that was an ad that was getting out there to real men are making a real impact on real lives. And that's the one that I always go back to. And they were actually the ones that came to us for the Christmas campaign. So we've got an ad out there at the minute that's a Christmas awareness campaign that says that there's thousands of families will lose a loved one this year to prostate cancer. That doesn't have to be that way. And it was all about busting the myths. So it was less about, you know, moving margin. It was less about increasing the bottom line. It was about making real impact to real lives.
Love those stories, Callum. Thanks for sharing. I think it's important to bring these things to life rather than just doing the marketing fluff chat as well. And Callum, I wondered what mistakes people could avoid with their TV ads. I'm sure now you do what you do. You watch TV ads and you're like, oh, wow, that's not good news. That's not good for your brand. That's a waste of your marketing budget. What are the mistakes that brands should avoid with their TV ads?
There's a lot. Since I've got into the TV ad space, there are two things that really have astounded me. The first is my ability to pick up on if a business has used the ad smart process. And secondly, it's the amount of national TV ads that get away with really, really poor advertising, that aren't using they're not a small business. One that comes to mind that recently is cash converters. I saw an ad that I thought was actually really, really poorly done. For me, it's all about quality. So it's either a DIY approach or it's the scrimp and save approach. Particularly when you have the opportunity on TV. When I talk about the trust factor earlier, and that trust, you know, TV can carry so much trust for you and could really give you a leg up. To then undermine that with a really poor quality visual just undoes all of your hard work. There is a psychology to that, is that the quality and the visual quality of your branding and marketing directly reflects the perceived quality of your service. Yeah. And if you are showing up with subpar graphic design, subpar videography, subpar messaging and marketing, people are going to say, well, they've kind of half-assed their marketing, so are they going to half-ass my work when I give it to them? Or they feel a little bit small fry. You know, I've met so many great businesses that are run by really, really talented people, but because they've tried to DIY it in Canva, or, you know, they'll do some stuff on their phone and then edit it in CapCut, you know, it undermines their reputation, unfortunately. So yeah, that's the big mistake that I've seen, is people thinking that they can, just because they're on TV, they can get away with a subpar creative. And actually it's quite the opposite, because when you are, if you are in, for example, when our ad went live on Sky Sports recently, the ad that played before it was Jameson, and the ad that played after it was Salesforce CRM. And if we were to have done, which we didn't do, a poor quality visual job there, you've got two multi-billion-pound businesses with very, very big marketing budgets that have put a lot of visual quality in. And the fact that I think a lot of people didn't realize that it was done by a small business, it means that we've done a good job. Because that's what we built this company on, making marketing and advertising accessible to small businesses, and to level that playing field, and to say that, you know, high street companies, family businesses, SMEs can have access to the same advertising opportunities that big multinational corporations like Salesforce and Jameson Whiskey can have, and actually they can perform just as well.
You've really kind of highlighted the why, what they can do, the mistakes to avoid, how to do it, the process. Is brilliant, Callum. We always end these conversations with where can people do business with you, but I'm going to flip that for you a little bit. How can people learn more about TV advertising through you, and how can you support them through that process in 2026? Well,
I think if anybody's watched this chat and my previous appearance, they'll know that I am very passionate about this, and very passionate about small business as well. And you know, I was chatting to somebody this morning as well, and they said, "Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you, but you know, I don't think that we're at a position at the minute where we can do that investment." And I said, "You know what? That's absolutely okay, because I've built this company on this foundation of of a rising tide lifting all ships, and really looking to empower other businesses, I still get a kick out of going into a business and leaving them better off than I found them with just my advice. Even if I can go in there and give them a little bit of guidance, a little bit of steering on what they can do themselves. Because my philosophy is, if I can go into a business and I can empower them, teach them how to fish, give them the tools and some of the knowledge, they will then grow to a point where maybe they do then have the marketing budget to come and work with us. But if you feel like TV might be the answer for you, if you're stuck relying on referrals, if you've spent if you're looking at the P&L at the end of 2025 and you're thinking, so much of I hear all the time, so much of our work is reliant on word of mouth and referrals, and we're still in the process of building a social media presence, or we've been DIYing the social media presence, and we need something with a little bit of a short, sharp, acute impact. Then I'm very active on LinkedIn. Come and say hello. Email me, callum@limitlessfilm.media. Just let's get some time in the diary. We can go for a coffee. We can go for a pint. I'm always out and about in all across East Anglia. I'm in Stowmarket today. I'll be back home in Ipswich. Oh God, I better not say that. I'll be back home in Norwich tonight. I'll be in Lowestoft tomorrow. I literally am here, there, and everywhere. So just come and say hello. Our kettle's always boiled in our office as well. If you ever find yourself down in Lowestoft, come and say hello. And just come with an open mind and an open notebook is what I would say, because I guarantee you'll come away with something to take into your business, whether that's a partnership with us or whether that's a new strategy for how you can actually implement video into your business.
I thought rather than kettle boiled, you were going to say we've always got a pint pulled, because you mentioned pints earlier.
Do you know what? I have got actually a crate of lager underneath the underneath my desk that is there ready for a Friday afternoon, or if we've had a particularly difficult week, or if we need to celebrate another successful campaign. I've always got some Birra Moretti under my desk ready to go.
I would just like to say at this stage that Limitless Film Media are an extremely professional company. I don't often do this. I've only done this 3 times before in almost 100 episodes of this podcast, and will do it for Callum. For those watching live, watching back, listening back, speak to Callum. Speak to Callum about all things video, but especially about TV advertising as well. Firsthand, I've experienced the Limitless Film Media process. They've made it so easy, genuinely easy. They're not paying me to say this. It is a legitimate, trusted partnership. I would recommend them to absolutely anyone that is bamboozled by the world of video, TV advertising, the technical around it all. Callum and Rob there have just got the most exceptional gift of making you feel comfortable throughout the process. And critically, they don't take a ton of budget as well. So I'd highly advise that you speak to those guys. There you go, Callum. Plug to end on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I think the reason we work so well together is because we share those values of business, of helping everyone out and leaving companies better than we found them, and just be dedicated to our craft. We love what we do. There's a reason that this business was born out of passion. We are just passionate filmmakers that fell into business, but over the years we've developed a really, really robust process that we're really proud of.
Callum, thank you very much for your time today.
It's absolutely flown by as always. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much to everyone that's watching live, watching back, listening back. If you've enjoyed this episode of A Coffee with Chris, leave it a thumbs up on YouTube, 5-star review on Spotify, on iTunes. And hey, why not get involved in the conversation? Tag Callum, myself, Reeve Social on any social media platform, and we'll get back to you with any answers to any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Coffee with Chris. 2025 has flown by. It's been an absolutely brilliant year for the podcast. So excited to say that 2026 is going to be even bigger and even better. So make sure that you are tuned in, and I shall see you this time next week for another episode.